Jack made it.
We need 5? So we need 5? No, we have to have 6.
I think we have to have.
Whoa, this is it.
How you doing, Jack?
No.
10:02, just right.
Gotta get the smoothies, walk the dog.
I know. Buses are out.
Well, my wife broke her shoulder. So it's like, all hands on deck. Huh?
We got everybody here now? Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone. I would like to call to order the hybrid virtual Metropolitan Planning Organization meeting of August 12th, 2021. I would like to remind everyone to please silence all electronic devices and those not attending in person virtually to silence their mic when you're not talking. At this time, please rise for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
O merciful Creator, your hand is open wide to satisfy the needs of every living creature. Make us thankful for your loving providence and the grant that we, remembering the account that we must one day give, may be faithful stewards of your good gifts. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Camille Hernandez. Mayor Scott Tremblay.
Here.
Councilman Matt Murphy. Acting Chairman Ron Oakley.
He's on the WebEx. Matt Murphy's on WebEx, but he didn't say anything.
Matt Murphy.
I think he's on his way, isn't
He's right here.
he? Okay. Oh, he's there. He's virtual.
That's somebody.
Where's that noise coming from?
No,
Huh?
That's Mr. Murphy's audio.
can you just mute him?
He either needs to turn down his background music or TV. Or
But you can
whatever.
mute him.
I can, but he's a panelist. But
He's supposed to say here.
Yeah,
I will email him.
he can mute and I will leave
maybe somebody can give him a phone call and let him know. It sounds like it's going away now. Okay,
Acting Chairman Ron Oakley.
here?
Commissioner Mike Moore.
Here.
Commissioner Catherine Starkey. Commissioner Christina Fitzpatrick.
Here.
Commissioner Jack Mariano.
Here.
And Chairman Lance Smith. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have a quorum, so we will be able to carry out our business today. Now it's time for public comment. Citizens were given an opportunity to comment on any item coming before the board and in this public comment section. The board also takes public comment on items placed on future board agendas and other business under their purview. Due to COVID-19, operations is to safeguard the well-being of our citizens and staff. Today's public comment will be handled as follows. First, we'll take public comment for items not on the agenda from the public comment kiosks, which we do not have a kiosk, and you're able to come here in person. So we don't have a kiosk set up, right? Okay. And WebEx participants who are registered and currently on queue. Okay. Next, we will read into public record comments. Currently, PowerPoints, videos have been identified from members of the public that need to be read into the record. Finally, we will take public comment from those currently present, and it says at the kiosk, but it's basically right here in front of this board. Comments are not to be more than 3 minutes. This new format does not weigh the fact that you have to when you come forth, you state your name and address for the clerk and the members of the board. but rather, no item should be pointed toward a board member, but given the respect to the board members that are here. So this provides mutual respect between the board members and the public. For WebEx and kiosk participants, after stating your name and address for the clerk, the timer will sound. After 2 minutes, one beep will sound, and you will know that you have 1 minute remaining, and at that time you have only that minute to finish your comments. Okay? Madam Clerk, do we have anyone registered to speak on WebEx?
I don't have that list. It's not mine.
I have a name here that's first participant WebEx is Wayne Gaskill,
He is not online, sir.
and he's not online. Does anyone here in person wish to speak before the board? Okay, seeing no one. Do we have any emails to be read into record, any videos to be shown? None?
Nothing to be read into the record.
Okay, having none, this time I will close the public comment session of this meeting, and we will move on to public input. Okay. Okay, at this time, we need to, I'll entertain a motion for the past meetings minutes.
So moved.
Second?
I got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Excuse me. I believe that's done by roll call vote.
If
I had-
Murphy's on,
He is.
Is
He
he
was-
on? Okay, we need to do a roll call vote.
he would say yes.
We're under different regulations in our regular board meetings, which is a little odd now, but we're in a virtual hybrid meeting, which we're not doing at the commission level now, but we are doing that because of federal regulations for MPO. So if you will ask for that motion second as roll call vote.
Mayor Scott Tremblay,
Aye.
Councilman Matt Murphy. Acting Chairman Ron Oakley,
Aye.
Commissioner Mike Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Christina Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Commissioner Jack Mariano.
Aye.
Thanks.
All right, motion passes 6-0. Okay, move on to the next item. Find out where I'm at here. Okay. Okay, MPO Advisory Committee reports, there are action items. Item number 2. Is that you, Carl, or?
So we do have a speaker with us today, so we'll start with the Citizens Advisory Committee report, please. And Ms. Melanie is here with us.
Good morning. Thank you
Good
for
morning.
allowing me to be here. Melanie Monson, Chairman of the CAC. The Citizen Advisory Council met on Wednesday, the 7th, here at the Dade City Courthouse. Present was Sandy Graves, Tom Ryan, Marilyn DeShant, and myself. We did not have a quorum present, so we just went by consensus vote that day. Our MPO director gave reports on the action items, and they were each met favorably, with the exception of one, which was the meeting schedule for CAC, which I'll talk about a little more in a minute. The CAC was excited to hear of the willingness of Metro Plan Orlando in offering staff services to a larger region, which will benefit across the entire Central Florida area. The CAC agreed favorably towards the letter of support. Carl reported, and I'm sorry, Carl M., reported on the audit performed by the Officer of Inspector General, stating recommendations needed by the MPO. The committee commended him on his action plan to address the findings of this audit and are confident the staff's ability to remedy these issues are in hand. Much discussion was proposed about the change of the CAC meeting calendar days. Those attending the meeting expressed concern over meeting on a Monday. Since we didn't have a quorum, I, as the chairman, asked for an email to be sent out to the committee to get feedback from everyone about moving those meeting dates. I also stressed my concern with us having lack of quorum and commitment by CAC members, and that I also sent an email, and staff is going to address those, and if they feel like we need some replacements, if the commitment level's not there, then they'll be coming to you asking for those. CAC members commended the staff on their noteworthy items on the 2021 Tampa Bay certifications. Then we had Casey Kersey. She reported on the work that's being done to ensure school safety for those walking or riding a bike to the new Starkey Ranch School. It was great to hear of the partnership with the Sheriff's Department and MPO staff. Tina Russo also told us about the upcoming Smart Cycling class, which will be held in October and December, and the CAC members are happy to help get the word out to our citizens. And lastly, Jensen Hackett of DOT informed us of the letter of default, which was received from DAB concerning the 56 and 75 intersection and the implications this will cause. We understand this is difficult news for everyone, and especially you, and I know that they're working hard on getting that resolved. So does anyone have any questions for me? That's all I have today.
Jack?
Mr. Chairman, just a comment, and my representative, Lee Henley, he's just put his resignation in.
Yes,
I think
sir.
he served us for like 16 years. I think he had perfect attendance, so I'll have a replacement for him come in by the next meeting. If we could, Carl, I'll work with you, I'll pay the expenses, but I'd like to give him a plaque to show him the thanks for serving so long and so well.
Thank you. That would be wonderful. He is going to be a
Yeah.
loss for us, so
Yeah.
thank you.
Any other questions?
No, thank you.
It's an action item, I think, so we have to,
Just a report,
Just a report.
just a report.
Thank you.
okay. Well, it says approve, so
Let
when it says
me see. What
approve,
number are you looking at?
2?
No, that's
Oh.
not, yeah.
This
No.
is committee report
Committee
about that.
reports, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you're good.
All right, we'll move on to item 2.
DPAC. Gotta get the other report, Chairman. There's one more advisory committee,
Advisory committee,
one more.
okay?
So, presentation on the meeting of the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee. Is Dr. Stovall with us? Oh, okay, we will defer that report, please.
Okay, so we'll move on to action items. Item number 2. Metropolitan Planning Organization. Okay,
I'll move approval.
Second. Second.
I got a motion and a second. By roll call vote, all those in favor say aye.
Mayor Scott Tremblay,
Aye.
Councilman Matt Murphy, Acting Chairman Ron Oakley,
Aye.
Commissioner Mike Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Christina Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Commissioner Jack Mariano.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Move on to action item number 3, Transportation System Management Operations. Letter of support.
It's in there, move approval.
I'll second with just discussion.
Okay, discussion?
Thank you. Carl, what do you think of this addition for adding this to our,
I'm sorry,
on item number 3?
So this is part of a larger regional effort. MetroPlan Orlando is volunteering their staff to coordinate all of the MPOs on the Interstate 4 corridor going from Daytona Beach to Tampa. And the idea is using transportation systems management and operations techniques which squeeze more performance out of our roadway networks without actually adding roadway capacity in the traditional sense of adding lanes. Using technology would be a great example of that. All the other MPOs in the region are signing a memorandum of understanding. Our county attorney has been very clear that memorandums of understanding have no standing in court. We opted to do a letter and that is what is before you today. The thing I want to emphasize is that Metro Plan Orlando is fully funding this. There will be our staff time involved, but it will not be just Interstate 4. It will be also the other roadways in the region, so 52, 19, 54, et cetera, that would be beneficiaries of this effort. Does that answer your question, sir?
It does. So you're comfortable with it going forward?
Yes, and I personally know Mr. Eric Hill of Metro Plan Orlando, who is leading this effort, and I think very highly of his work.
Okay, all right.
Okay. So having a motion and a second, all those in favor by roll call vote, say aye.
Mayor Scott Tremblay.
Aye.
Councilman Matt Murphy.
Aye. Oh, this side.
Acting Chairman Ron Oakley.
Aye.
Commissioner Mike Moore.
Aye.
Commissioner Christina Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
And Commissioner Jack Mariano.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0. Move on to action item number 4, Office Inspector General.
If I may introduce this item, this one is a little bit more detailed and has some implications, if we will. About a year and a half, a year ago, the Office of Inspector General, which is housed within the Florida Department of Transportation, paid a visit to the MPO and looked through our records. You'll see in the report there are a number of findings which have been copied over to this action plan. There are also some recommendations which are optional, but we have included in here, and we've specifically addressed how to take care of these concerns that were identified. I want to point out that Lori Shadiger of our staff has worked very diligently to clean our buildings. They were running quite late prior to her arrival. We are required to bill within 90 days. We are billing within 90 days. They're coming back clean. They're not being returned for defaults. We are being reimbursed inside that 90-day time frame. We are 3 out of the last 3 quarters on time with this track record. She has really put in a great deal of effort and needs to be recognized for her diligence. I'm confident that we will be able to resolve all of the findings in this report.
Okay. Mr. Mariano?
Mr. Chairman, we read the report over. It's not a glowing report for us, except with the leadership that we have now with the current team. We did have some transition we're going through, and things weren't being done, but I'm very confident that they're doing the things the right way now, and they'll continue in the future.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, just to follow up, I mean, we have obviously a new leader with the MPO, and he's doing a great job shaping things up. And like we have an accountant that's going to be dedicated to the MPO to audit.
We have an
our
accountant that is not
financials.
only dedicated to this audit, but will remain with us
Remain with us.
going forward.
Good.
Good.
I don't want to survive as an MPO without one. Because I think survive may be removed from that sentence.
Well, again, changes are
Yeah.
made for a reason, and those changes were made, and we
Yeah.
appreciate all your efforts in shaping this up.
Very
Thank you.
good.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor by aye, roll call vote.
And I apologize, Mr. Chairman, why are we actually approving this?
While it
There's
is
no
not
funding.
required, I
Yeah.
want to express to my friends at Florida DOT who are sitting behind me that it has the support of my board.
All right.
Right.
I want to make clear that to them that I am being
Okay.
transparent with you.
Okay.
You are
Well,
seeing the
That's
good,
very
the bad, and the
understandable.
ugly.
Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure, so we're just approving the action plan that you've put forth, that we
Please.
that we read. Okay.
Right.
I'll stand with my motion.
Okay. My roll call vote.
Mayor Scott Tremblay.
Aye.
Councilman Matt Murphy. Acting Chairman Ron Oakley.
Aye.
Commissioner Mike Moore.
Aye.
Commissioner Christina Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Commissioner Jack Mariano.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0. Move on to item 5, Pasco County Metropolitan Organization.
And may I,
Meeting schedule.
and if I
Mr.
may
Chairman,
introduce,
and I hate to do this before you start, but you also mentioned the bylaws in the agenda memo. If you read the bylaws state that we have bi-monthly meetings starting in February. So how are we able to move forward with a vote on this calendar today when the bylaws state that we have bi-monthly meetings?
thank you for that question. We are noticing in the workload of the MPO world that the first 6 months of a calendar year seem to be front-loaded with a number of items. My favorite meeting is 1 hour or less. And so we do have the discretion to have additional meetings, and we are requesting that discretion from the board to have more meetings in the front of the year, so we have manageable meetings. It is completely at your discretion as to how we do this. The bylaws do say every other month beginning in February.
Right.
We are asking for a few additional just to spread out that workload.
Mr. Chairman, so as a follow-up, though, do the bylaws actually state, and I can reread them, that under the discretion of the MPO board, we can make those changes? Or is the bylaws, do the bylaws not state that?
My understanding, and I'd have to go back and look at them, which I've got my computer here, we can call additional meetings as needed. I want to be proactive to set up your calendars, knowing that we have that. We can also go back at a future meeting, if there's a desire of this board, to change the bylaws to accommodate the workflows of the MPO. We have a number of repetitive items that we must do. And when I say repetitive, I think about the list of project priorities, the transportation improvement program, those types of products that we are bringing before you. But we are trying to be proactive in our planning for the next year. And again, keeping the meetings at a manageable timeframe.
Commissioner Mariano?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, if you can, and I'm okay if we're gonna adjust the bylaws to give you the flexibility, but if you can, I think if we can do the every other meeting, it might be good. Mayor Trombley's here, great to see him here, but I'm sure he'd rather see every other month if he could to make this work. It might help with that. I'd rather have a 2-hour meeting every other month than 1-hour meeting every month. I think
Yeah.
it's better for you all,
I agree.
everybody's time involved.
I think all of our schedules are pretty busy.
Yeah.
Understand.
And Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
And I think, with the decision, the previous decisions to make it bi-monthly, a lot of the people on this board adjusted their schedules accordingly, assuming that was going to continue, because that's what we all decided on.
Okay.
So,
If it would be the pleasure of this board, we could modify this item to approve then the February, April, June, August, October, and December meetings. I do know the advisory committees want to then set their schedule based upon your meeting schedule, so they are meeting shortly before yours. The idea being that their input is timely. Events do happen outside of our realm of the MPO that impact our business, so they thank you for setting the schedule. But if it would be your desire to have a motion to approve the every other month schedule, starting with February, we can certainly do that.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second by roll call vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Oops.
Roll call.
Mayor Scott Tremblay,
Aye.
Councilman Matt Murphy. Aye. Acting Chairman Ron Oakley,
Aye.
Commissioner Mike Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Christina Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
and Commissioner Jack Mariano.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed 6-0. Move on to item number 6, Commission for Transportation Disadvantage.
So this is a grant to the MPO. It pays for our staffing and operations of this committee. It does not, the cost of our staff does not exceed the amount of the grant.
Move approval?
Second.
All right, motion and a second by roll call vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Councilman Matt Murphy. Aye. Acting Chairman Ron Oakley,
Aye.
Commissioner Mike Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Christina Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
and Commissioner Jack Mariano.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0. Move on to item number 7, TOA scope.
So we are going to be entertaining 4 different studies today. This one happens to be ready to go forward. We have a scope of work with Tyndall, Oliver, and Associates to look at the intersection of State Route 52 and Adair Road. There's a large development going in there, and the intersection is likely not able to handle the additional traffic it will see in the future. We are looking to do a study of this area, which would be the precursor then to planning, design, and environment phase of a construction project. The cost of this study is approximately $29,350. We're seeking your approval today for this contract.
Move for roll.
Second.
On motion and second, all those in favor say aye by roll call vote.
Mayor Scott Tremblay.
Aye.
Councilman Matt Murphy. Acting Chairman Ron Oakley.
Aye.
Commissioner Mike Moore.
Aye.
Commissioner Christina Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
And Commissioner Jack Mariano.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0. Move on to action item number 8. Metropolitan Planning Organization Local Coordinating Board. Okay.
So for this item, we have an individual who has volunteered to serve on the local coordinating board. There is a position on the board that is required to represent the elderly, elderly being defined as 60 or older, which I think is a bit young. We have an individual who meets that qualification and has a long history of volunteer service to our region. We're very grateful that she has volunteered. So it is Ms. Diane Cunningham that we are bringing to you to recommend to be appointed to the local coordinating board as a representative of the elderly.
Mr. Chairman, move approval. She's served the county very, very well. She's got a tremendous resume, so fully support her.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All those in favor by roll call vote?
Mayor Scott Tremblay.
Aye.
Councilman Matt Murphy. Acting Chairman Ron Oakley.
Aye.
Commissioner Mike Moore.
Aye.
Commissioner Christina Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
And Commissioner Jack Mariano.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed 6-0. Move on to action item number 9. Metropolitan Planning Organization Citizens Advisory Committee, membership changes.
And this one is a bit more complicated as we have a number of positions on the Citizens Advisory Committee. We have primary members and we have alternate members. So we have an at-large position that is vacant for the Citizens Advisory Committee. We have 2 individuals that have put in an application requesting a seat on this. They are Ms. Christy Zimmer and Mr. James Engelman. We also then have a number of representatives who have left the board for their reasons, and their alternates are asking to move up to that primary position from the alternate. Those are for the City of Zephyr Hills, the Pasco County District 3 representative. The City of Newport Richey has an applicant who is seeking to be an alternate. And then also we have an individual who is seeking to be the alternate for District 3 position. I apologize. Rachel Hagenbob is the individual seeking to be the alternate representative for the City of Newport Richey. Ann Corona is seeking the alternate representative position for District 3.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
So we're going to separate, obviously, we need to separate these in different votes. So for the at-large, I nominate Jim Engelman. Jim's around the community, all over the community, Chamber, Rotary. I think he lives in actually Commissioner Fitzpatrick's district because he's over around the Sun Lake area. But that'd be my nomination for the at-large.
Second.
Yeah, motion and a second.
Can we have discussion first?
Discussion?
Was there a recommendation out of these 2?
There was not.
Okay. That's the only question that I have.
Yeah.
Is it just for one?
Mr. Mariano?
Is it just for one?
This is one at-large, yeah. And then you have the other ones you have to vote on as well. So you need to vote on, I think, whatever, that's the Port Richey, and then what else was it?
So we do have then.
Those are separate.
Yeah, we have one, which is the at-large position, which does require a choice between 2 candidates. All of the others have one position, one candidate.
So you need to call that one
Miss-
now.
Mr. Chairman, can I
Yes.
pull back my vote for a second for more discussion, because I thought we were going to do 2, but, I mean, Christy Zimmer's been a real active person as well. She's been on the MPO. I think she'd be a good addition as well.
Okay.
No, I'm not saying no, just
Yeah.
Jim's been around. I've seen Jim constantly at events and Rotaries, chamber meetings. He can give updates to those organizations as well, which was what we were wanting them to do.
Do either of them live in Zephyr Hills, Newport Richey, District 3?
That's not what we're voting on this time. That's a separate one. This one's at large.
So it's up to the pleasure of the board. I know Ms. Zimmerman's done a good job in the past. She's been out for a while, but I think she's willing to come back and work too, so.
There might be an alternate position now. I mean, but
Is there another alternate position?
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Is there another alternate position?
The alternate position for the at-large,
Yeah.
I believe that is open.
if somebody leaves, they can come back. But I've been seeing Jim. I talk to him all the time.
And I talk to Christie regularly. I'm gonna pull back my second. And
Okay.
just have a little look, see if someone else wants to go that way, and
All right. So my motion was for Jim Engelman. I get a second.
Do we have their resumes?
Do what?
Their resumes or anything?
Resume?
Any information on the two of them?
He lives in your district, so.
Yeah.
Their applications, which they filled out, were part of the packet, if that helps in any way.
It's in your paperwork.
I have it online. I don't have that.
So, pleasure of the board.
Did you do the application?
I'm sorry?
The application? I have it on the phone. Oh, thank you. I
Why don't we
had it
just,
virtual.
if you want to do that, if you're going to take the time to do this, why don't you just continue it so we can come back, so we're not going to sit here and go through everybody's resume right now.
Yeah,
I
it
mean, if
takes
you
a
can
lot
hold
of
off,
time
just
for
continue
that,
it.
so
I mean,
I'm fine.
if everybody's okay with that,
I
we'll
mean, it's not
continue to our
rocket
next
science, but
meeting.
okay.
Would it be the pleasure of the board to, on the other positions?
Yes,
which-
we'll go ahead and, on the others, but on these, let the board look at these two individuals a little better and come back. I think both individuals are good for the position and good for the county, so I think it's good that we take a little time and make sure we get what the board wants, so, okay? So we'll continue that one and go to, which is the next one up there?
Well, if you would like, we could speak to, or we could address the members for the City of Zephyr Hills representative to remove Pete Odom from the CAC as a primary member and move Ms. Melanie Monson from alternate to primary, as well as the Pasco County District 3 representative, removing Mr. Ian Norris from the CAC and move Captain James Mallow from alternate to primary.
Okay.
So then also we
So
had,
I entertain a motion for that.
So moved?
You got a motion?
Second.
Second? All those in favor by roll call vote? Aye.
Mayor Scott Tremblay.
Aye.
Councilman Matt Murphy. Acting Chairman Ron Oakley.
Aye.
Commissioner Mike Moore.
Aye.
Commissioner Christina Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
And Commissioner Jack Mariano.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
and then
The next individual for, or is it Newport Ritchie?
we have two alternate positions, and we have two individuals who are interested in those positions. So the alternate representative for the city of Newport Ritchie, we have an applicant by the name of Rachel Hagenbaugh. And then the alternate position for District 3, we have an applicant by the name of Ann Corona. Both are interested in serving on the CAC as alternates.
Okay.
Move approval of two alternates?
Second.
We got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Roll call vote.
Mayor Scott Tremblay.
Aye.
Councilman Matt Murphy. Acting Chairman Ron Oakley.
Aye.
Commissioner Mike Moore.
Aye.
Commissioner Christina Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
And Commissioner Jack Mariano.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passed 6-0. Move on to, I think that finishes our action items. And of course, bring that one back to us. And if anybody needs information, on that, reach out to Carl, get the information you need on those two candidates before we come back next time. So, be good. All right. Presentation only, project prioritization, methodology.
And for this item, if I may take you through a PowerPoint, I'll move myself over here so it's easier for me to see the screen. Coming aboard here at Pasco County MPO, I recognized that we needed to do something with our project prioritization methodology. It instills confidence in our process, and confidence, I'm hoping, will lead to solid funding for the region. So in order to figure out what we should best do, it is sometimes wise to look at what is currently being done across the nation. I tasked a staff member, Mr. Scott Ferry, over here, with this research. He did an excellent job, and I want to thank him for that. So I'll walk you through what we did here. Next slide, please. And yeah, there we go. So within the review, what we found is that most commonly it was performance measures found in map 21 that were used as a basis for project prioritization. Most project prioritization methodologies use a mix of qualitative and quantitative methodologies. The qualitative ones are much more difficult. The staff advice to you is we should start with something that is fairly simple and not try to make this overly complex as we go into this process. I'll go ahead to the next slide. Thank you. So you'll see that in this slide, data accessibility, the bottom bullet point, is probably the biggest challenge to having a methodology. Having data available to make those quantifiable judgments or scores for projects is going to be key. And we would like to structure a system around available data. Next slide, please. This is very important because every MPO is unique, and in my former job, I was the statewide director of the organization that assembled the 27 MPOs here in Florida. My explanation to people of my job was that it was like being the father of 27 children, all having their unique personalities. No two were alike. Well, this one-size-fits-all approach does not work for MPOs because we are all different. We all have a unique personality to our region. That is what sets Pasco County apart from other places here in the state as well as the nation. So there's no one single approach that is best. Next slide, please. These are the common project prioritization factors or scoring categories. And you'll see that safety and security is on the top of this list. That is no accident. That is usually the big emphasis within a project prioritization methodology. Project readiness is very important because you don't want to start a project, move it through preliminary design and engineering, and then stall it. Once you start a project through that pipeline, you want to get to construction and a ribbon cutting. Very important. You can see the other items up here that are important as well for many of the MPOs across the nation. Next slide, please. You can see a number of the drivers behind a methodology. Federal requirements, state requirements, what data is available, the cost of getting our hands on that data if we have to go out and physically collect it versus data that is readily available. Staff expertise, I'm confident on that one, we'll be able to handle that. But then also our size of staff. We're not one of the larger MPOs, so we want to make sure that we're not straining staff in this effort. Next slide, please. Some of the sources of data that are readily available, crash data, traffic volume, so forth, these would be go-to items for evaluating projects and setting up a scoring system. Next slide, please. And so our goals are going to be, or we're proposing the goals to be, a data-driven process that prioritizes our limited resources because there's only so much money that goes around. We don't have an unlimited bank account for this. And to have a framework that effectively uses those dollars and sets projects. We also want to align our projects with federal law as well as state law, state requirements, and that way we optimize our funding. Next slide, please. Some of the benefits of this, obviously, we're optimizing our spending of money. Again, the limited resources, the ability to link our spending choices with our goals and objectives that we've clearly stated. Typically, you find those in the long-range plan, and they trickle down to TIP, and those would then come into this methodology. Having better information for you, the decision makers, and then a transparency in the decision-making process. Obviously, aligning our practices with federal and state requirements, improving the access to the funding, and then having a clear understanding of that methodology. Next slide, please. So our next steps that we are proposing would be to bring before you a proposed methodology, and part of that proposal would be to take the current list of projects and show you how a ranking system would behave with it. And that's where we'll be testing it, and we would like to then present it through the committee structure to the board, and hopefully be ready to utilize it for the next round of project prioritization, which would be adoption next year in approximately June. Next slide, please. I think that may be the last slide. Yes, that's what I was thinking. I'd like to entertain questions if you have them for me, and I do expect there will be many.
Mr. Mariano?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Carl, for years, we've had the list of priority projects, and I'll start first with sidewalks. And I'll give you the two examples you've heard me talk about many times already, like Ranch Road and Zimmerman. They're on the list. They're low economic people. There's just definitely a gap in where there's no sidewalk or trail that's there that would help people to go through. But that doesn't move up on the list. Like, I think even this year it went backwards again. And instead of moving up where it used to be you have a list together and every 5 years a project would get done, Sometimes a little bit quicker if right away access was easy and some other things could move it, but sometimes those projects sit and all of a sudden it's not the hot item anymore and something else comes up and jumps that back or it keeps it in position. County Line Road's another road, which we'll talk about later on today too. I mean, it's difficult to put all these things together, even with like, as far as safety goes and improvements goes, well, repaving's repaving. Someone may say, I need this road redone. It's just with potholes going on, et cetera. When I look at vision roads coming in that we want to get done, how do they get to the front part? Even like getting a bridge redone that was built so low that boats have now trapped in 250 people that can't get out anymore. So it's gonna be difficult to have that broad range. But one thing we used to do, when we used to have the program maintenance projects around the county, each commissioner would have allocated a certain amount of money that was in the budget and kind of like, wasn't like lock solid as far as, you all get 4 million or whatever, but the commissioners can actually direct which ones they wanted to get done for the district. So no one get left behind. If you get a road project that's only affecting your area, then no one is going to see it, no one's going to drive it, it's not going to have the impetus. Same thing with the sidewalk goes. So it's tough to make a perfect decision every time, but that little bit of flexibility with the commissioner's input would help. Do you have any thoughts about leaning toward that a little bit?
Yes, and actually, you threw me a little bit of a twist there because I anticipated the first part of your question, which was why I was smiling quite large, and then you went to another part. And I went, let me start with the first part, and that is projects that have been on the list for an extended period of time. As we sat down as a team and we're talking a little bit about this, one of the things that we would like to bring forward as a recommendation is that time on the list should be awarded additional points so that projects don't languish in the midpoint of the list, always getting bypassed by something new that comes in. That allows those projects that have been there a while to move up. And so that would be one of the things that we had thought that a question was anticipated, and that was the way we wanted to address it.
Okay.
As for the allocation of money by district, I am familiar with that as a model that has been used elsewhere. Commonly, I hear of that being done with county funds, whereas this list would only be for the federal and state funds that flow through Florida DOT. Mm-hmm. And I do not want to attempt to prioritize county projects, as that is something that is the right of the county and is not our role to interfere with their decision-making process. And this is where, as an MPO, we're a little awkward in that I'll give you the correlation or the analogy that I'm a bit like that college-age son who still lives at home. I'm 18, I'm capable of making my own decisions, but because I'm under your roof, you are liable for me to some degree. That is how the MPO fits in the county. We are there within the county structure, therefore we are a liability to the county, but at the same time, we're somewhat independent. And that's where I would like to make sure that we do not inappropriately interfere with the county decision-making process. And that, I believe that 4 million you referenced by district would likely be the county improvement program.
And I'm just using it as an example,
Yes.
not for this year, but just like that impetus as far as like if a commissioner wants to see a project get done, that could carry some extra weight.
Yes, and I will say, the one thing that's very important to recognize that the MPO is both a quantifiable process and a political process. You know, we can bring to you the methodology and show you how projects score. You may look at it and say, hey, this project that's number 3 really has additional benefits that affect quality of life, which we cannot measure, and it needs to be adjusted to the top position. So there's always that latitude there. The idea behind a quantifiable methodology is to then look and really identify those projects that are closer to the bottom and probably rightfully belong there. There may be things that we miss. Again, you know, we're sticking with numerical, quantifiable data. There is unquantifiable data or qualitative data out there, quality of life issues that we cannot always touch. You know, it's just how do you measure that? And that's where we bring it to you for that final approval and for adjustment as necessary. But it's a tool to guide you as a board, but it is not it's not the final say.
And a lot of the big transportation projects, I think they're probably more stackable with good data, but when you, let's say, have an area that used to be a bunch of seniors, and when that area was built, they didn't need sidewalks. They were all driving wherever they're gonna go, didn't matter. Now you get a change over from that area, and all of a sudden it's a shift over. Where you get families that are there that don't have the sidewalks that want to get them. So that's why I think it's important that as districts change, I don't know how you're going to quantify who needs a sidewalk more. I mean, a few years ago, we had 2 sets of desks on 2 major roads that didn't have a sidewalk, and guess what? They both got done. One was real quick because it didn't need right away. The other one took longer, but it got done as well. I don't want to go with that data. I'd rather kind of go, let's prevent that situation from happening.
Agreed with you. I don't want to have fatalities as the reason we're doing projects. I'd like to proactively do those projects so we don't have those fatalities.
Okay, thank you. All set?
Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you very much. We'll be bringing to you a follow-up to this.
No, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
do you mind if we go out of order? I wanted to see the APS presentation real quick, and I gotta skedaddle.
You gotta go.
Is that all right?
All right,
Okay.
we're okay.
You guys okay
Which
with that?
one is that?
Good.
Which number is it?
It's towards the end, second to last.
Asphalt paving
14.
system, number 14?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good morning. Good morning,
morning.
Pasco County Metropolitan Planning Commission. My name is Randy Shane. I'm with Asphalt Paving Systems. This is my son, Christopher Shane. We're going to go through a presentation here. This is on Sprayjet paving. It's a new technology introduced to Florida. Other states are using the process, and we'll go through a quick presentation. I'm going to turn it over to Chris right now, but we're all about, asphalt paving systems is all about making pavements last longer, and that's what this process is.
Thank you. We appreciate the opportunity to present. You can go to the next slide here. And as my dad said, Sprayjet paving, you know, the asphalt industry is always advancing. We're always looking for new technology, and this is the newest technology, Sprayjet paving. You can go to the next slide. So what is Sprayjet paving? Sprayjet paving uses a Sprayjet paver. It can pave all conventional asphalt mixes, but it's equipped with a self-tacking spray system, which sprays the tack directly ahead of the asphalt, and then the asphalt's placed directly onto the tack that was laid. And this eliminates the need for a conventional tack truck that you would have with paving, and eliminates the tracking, and also creates a better bond. So before we go any further, we'll show a quick video. This is from a project we just did down the street in the city of Zephyr Hills, and it kind of highlights the process. So you can go to the next slide here. Yeah, one more time. can go to the next slide. You can go to the next one. Yeah, there you go. That's perfect. So there's really two things that differentiate this paver from a conventional paver. And the first is the self-tacking spray system. So as you can see from the video, the tack is sprayed directly ahead of the mix. In a conventional paving operation, you'd have a tack truck out in front, which would spray down the tack, then you'd have to let it break, and then it would be paved over. With this process, the asphalt's laid directly over the tack, and then the tack breaks immediately from the temperature of the asphalt, and the water evaporates out through the asphalt. And this creates a fusion bond and a membrane layer underneath the asphalt. You can go to the next slide. So the self-tacking spray system, the paver is equipped with a 500-gallon storage tank. That's where the emulsion and the tack's held. There's 5 spray bars and 24 nozzles, and they're extendable, so you can extend out whatever lane or lane width you're paving. And then you can also, everything's computer controlled, so you can control the rate of speed, and it can be metered accurately. And then another good advantage is you have full coverage. You're getting a full coverage, a full tack across the whole lane width. And the nozzles do not spray continuously, they pulsate, and this helps ensure that you're getting an accurate tack coat put down. You can go to the next slide. The second piece of technology that this paver is equipped with is a new Screed technology. So it's an adjustable screed like on a conventional paver, but this is a heavier screed, so you're getting improved density, smoother mat. A conventional paver, right out of the asphalt, right out of the paver, you'd get density anywhere from between 85 and 86%. Out of this paver, you're getting 90% compaction right out of the paver. And on an FDOT project, the target density is 93%. So with very minimal effort, we're able to achieve that 93% because we've already got 90% out of the paver. You can go to the next slide. So some of the benefits, as we kind of mentioned, you can see on the left, that would be with conventional tack. Sometimes you'll see the streamers. You're not getting full coverage across the lane width. And then on the right-hand side, you can see out of the Sprayjet paver, you're getting a full coverage. It's creating that membrane layer. And you're getting the tack in the most important spots, which is in the wheel path. You can go to the next slide. And you're also getting superior bonding. Because you're getting that full coverage and it's being overlaid as it's being sprayed, you're not having vehicles drive through it, so you're not having the shuttle buggy or dump trucks or traffic drive through it. And you can see in the picture on the right where the dump trucks drive is the most critical part of the paving in the wheel path. So that's where the majority of the issues can show up because there's no tack in that area.
Chris, can you hang on for just a second on that?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
This is like the most important part of the whole thing, I think. Because when you look at, when you put the tack down, as well as they do a much thorougher job putting all the tack down, but not having a truck drive over it. I mean, Little Road, we spent $2.3 million way ahead of time last year or 2 years ago because people were in the middle of the road driving from one side to the other side, avoiding these potholes at 50 miles an hour. US 19, we had to move it up, I want to say 7, 8 years ago. With DOT, the paving was unraveling up and down. We had to redo that road. If you drive down US 19, Pasco or Pinellas, you'll see little patches that go. And sometimes with the crossroads where these trucks might have turned, I think what we can do is get a much better life. This part of the system alone, with everything else that goes on, this keeps that delamination from happening so that in the drive lanes where those potholes will happen on the busier roads, we can get a much longer life out of it. That's what excited me, I'll say the most about this. I mean, the seam technology is great, so, but I just wanted to show that picture and highlight that a little bit.
Thanks, Commissioner Mariano. You can go to the next slide here. So this actually goes back to the bond strength that we're creating. So we did a side-by-side comparison on Little Road that we paid for the county. We did one with the conventional paver, traditional tack, and then we did one lane with the Sprayjet paver. And then we took cores and did shear strength testing to test the bond strength. And the bond we created with the Sprayjet paver was 22% higher. So we're getting a lot better bond out of the lane that we did with the Sprayjet paver, which can help alleviate a lot of the issues that you're seeing in some of your paving currently. You can go to the next slide. And another benefit we touched on is no tracking. So you're not having residents track through it, vehicles track through it, and you're not seeing the contamination on your adjacent side streets and roads, which can look unsightly. And you're having a lot cleaner job site. Next slide. And then going back to, where the bond's the most important in the, in the wheel path, where you can get slipping and you can get delamination, having this stronger bond is going to help extend the life of your pavement and avoid some of these issues that you get with conventional paving. Another great benefit that we see is because you're getting that membrane layer, it almost acts as a crack relief layer. This is a study that FDOT put out. The bonded friction course was done with a Sprayjet paver, and it had the best reflective cracking numbers. So the membrane layer helped retard the reflective cracking that came back through the asphalt, which we found very encouraging. You can go to the next slide. And this just illustrates that point. So you can see the picture on the left is tacked with the Sprayjet paver before it was paved. And you can see the picture on the right, how it goes down in each individual crack and helps with the reflective cracking, creates that membrane layer, that crack relief layer. Next slide. And then also the last benefit is quicker construction. So not having to let the tack break is a huge benefit. You can see that picture on the left. They're having to wait for the tack to break before it's paved. Whereas with the Sprayjet paver, you're going down the road and you're not having any delay waiting on the tack to break. And you're also having, you know, a cleaner job site, as I mentioned. So now I'll pass it back to my dad, Randy Shane, and he'll kind of go over some of the, you know, why you should consider using it. Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted Chris to go through some of the technical aspects here, and now you can go to the next slide. We're going to get into why choose the Sprayjet paving, and a lot of the items, 6 items here, are going to be basically the same. There's no added cost, no tracking. It's open to all bidders. All this equipment is on the free, you know, open market. You can go to the next slide. Superior bonding. That we think that's a key. This polymer membrane that is put down, the polymers can't be put down in regular tack when you're driving, when you're doing conventional paving, because the trucks would pick it up even worse. So this membrane can only be put down with the Sprayjet paver. Quicker construction. Quicker construction leads to really safer for the traveling public. When the quicker you can get in and out of a road, the better. Extends the life of the pavement. We're like I said, we're all about that, making pavements last longer. This is the only paving process, hot mix asphalt paving process in the state of Florida that I know of that gives a 3-year warranty. You can go to the next slide. The real reason why you want to choose a Sprayjet paver, this is a good example. This is Pasco County. These pictures were taken back in July, middle of July. This is on Little Road in US 19. You can see the delamination, the raveling on US 19. This is key. The longer you can make pavements last, really the safer they are. You can go to the next slide. We're going to show a little video here of Little Road. This was a section between Embassy Boulevard and Fox Hollow. We didn't really know exactly how old this road was, but you can see the delamination. You can see the old stripes and some of the pop-offs. You're going to get a good example here. What I talk about safety when you're driving. There's cars, you know, they're using this roadway. There's a car that's going to pass me here in just a little bit. But you can see, I mean, just every lane, it's just pop after pop. This car right here, watch what he does. He just had to swerve to miss a pothole, which to me, that's a safety factor. When a car has to swerve, we're talking some safety conditions now. But yeah, this is just a good example. The longer we can make pavements last, if you can make them last 3, 4, 5 years longer before they start delaminating or raveling, you're ahead of the game. You can go to the next slide. The key benefits, I actually put this, if there's one thing you leave with here today, I put this on everybody's got a copy of this. Take this with you. This is just key. Extends the life of the pavement, which that's what we're about. No tracking. The tracking gets down to even no contamination. The equipment's not going to run in it. The traveling public's not going to run in it. Superior bonding for added life and longer life, added strength. Quicker reconstruction, quicker construction, which we talked about, which is less inconvenience to the public and safer. And then the polymer modified tack membrane, which is a crack relief layer. These are just the key benefits of really the whole presentation. You can go to the next slide. This is Zephyr Hills. This is the project that we did for Zephyr Hills. We did a lunch and learn on it back in June of 21, first part of June. This is the finished product. You saw in the beginning that's where the video was. You saw all the cracking in that roadway that actually went deep down. So this is going to be a good case study for not just really the whole state of Florida, not just Pasco County. And then this is the section on Little Road that we did. We just did the slow lane heading northbound. It's actually just north of 52. If anybody wants to drive that, start at 52 and go northbound lane, slow lane. The other thing that the slow lanes were done with a Sprayjet paver. This is where we got the test data. The fast lanes and the turn lanes on the inside were done conventional. And to me, we got superior bonding. We all know that from the tests. We got superior bonding, but we also got a superior bond on that joint versus the other side of the roadway. That joint between where you see that white dash line, that Sprayjet paver actually sprayed that joint so you get really a superior bond on that joint. So we're gonna watch that compared to the southbound lane to take all those into consideration. Next slide. We think this is the future of paving. This is an email I got back from the Lunch and Learn from one of the top 10 cities. He said, thanks for reaching out. I actually looked into paving machine-mounted tack bars a few years ago, and I wanted to require it in our contracts. Unfortunately, our contractors did not have the equipment at the time. I'm glad to see this is picking up in popularity because tack has been one of those treatments that never made sense. We spray it down, and then the areas with the most vulnerability, the wheel pass, wheel wells, get it picked up with the truck tires. And when he sent me that back, I'm like, you get it. I mean, this guy gets it. So in the future, they're going to be putting that in their future bids. This top 10 city. We want to thank you guys. If there's any questions, we'd be glad to answer them. But we thank you for your time. And
Thank you for your report. Any questions?
I'd just make a comment, Mr. Chairman. Seeing the system in place at Zephyr Hills was amazing. And, someone who, I used to seal coat driveways through college. And you had to prep that roadway, or the driveway first. You'd put your crack fill in it next. After it dried, the next day you come back and put the seal coat over it to go. This technology with these seams that are gonna have the tack down and asphalt going right over the top of it, between the seams and no delamination with trucks driving over it, get the dirt mixed right over it, just like that letter was like perfect. It just makes all the sense in the world, and after they're done, I'm gonna actually talk to Secretary Gwynn and ask him about why aren't we doing this all the time? And I think it makes sense for us, the amount of money we spend on the roadways, if we can get a belt longer life, and the price is like the same,
Yep.
and the technology's out here now, it hasn't been out here, I think we should be leading the way in doing this. I think we'd be getting much better value for our dollar.
Yes, sir.
I had a question for you, gentlemen. If I may, your road, does it, because some areas, for example, in our city are predominantly commercial and we have semis coming in and out, and those roads obviously get destroyed a lot quicker than our residential areas. Do your roads encompass both, whether it's either commercial or residential?
Yes.
Okay. And do you, if you know it's gonna be a road that's mainly commercial, is there anything you do after you lay the pavement to strengthen the road?
Just to make sure there's really no base failures. I mean, we're talking mill and overlay here, basically. This is the mill and overlay
Right.
process. If you do have base failures in it, you want to address those areas. Beforehand, you can go out and do full depth patches. If it's too bad, you may want to go full depth reclamation. I know Port Ritchie, you guys did a full depth reclamation job a few years ago.
Yeah, just on Washington Street, correct?
Yes, yes, yes. That road was too far gone for this process.
Right, understood.
Yeah, I think if you have a road like that, you know, it would be best to plan ahead, you know, and identify what you could do to make the road stronger to withstand those trucks. You know, whether it, you know, it be a thicker asphalt section, you know, really focusing on the design of the road.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
No problem.
Any other questions? Good report.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you, John.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
do you mind if I just ask Secretary Gwynn a quick question?
Well, they're fixing to come up, so
Okay. All right, I'm gonna ask you about this, what do you think, so, okay. Thank
I
you.
think they're in transportation management, so. 11? This is your presentation. I guess we could, when you finish your presentation, let Secretary Gwynn come up. He's going to give us a report, I think, on some other issues also. and
Oh, I think about some of the, yeah.
questions.
And really, I think the next item on the agenda, this is Justin Hall with FDOT. The next item on the agenda actually is Federal Highways, a quadrennial report. So I think Teresa Parker's online for that.
Yeah, and if I may introduce a few things about this. I formerly worked at Federal Highway Administration. I conducted these painful reviews of MPOs. I wrote the reports. Teresa's a personal friend of mine. I'm glad she's with us today. But for the board, I want you to understand that Teresa is required by Congress to do this every 4 years. And I had the opportunity to review the report before it was issued in final form. The report is objective, fair, and there's nothing in the report I disagree with. Teresa, over to you, please.
Go ahead. She might be muted.
I don't think she's hearing us. I'm going to go ahead and...
Go ahead with your report. I don't think she can hear us.
I just shot her an email. Teresa, can you hear us?
Okay, I can hear you now.
You're up.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm here today to review the 2021 Tampa Bay Certification Review Summary of Findings. The site visit for Pasco County MPO was held on January the 26th. The review team consisted of myself, Jim Martin, Carrie Shepherd, Stacy Blizzard, and Ricky Lavin. The federal review team found 3 noteworthy practices, 2 corrective actions, and 3 recommendations. The final report was signed on June 30, 2021. The first noteworthy practice for Pasco County is related to their first ever active transportation plan. Initially, the MPO started to do phase one for the public engagement, but due to COVID-19, they needed to rescale that activity to phase two. It then used the time to create video logs of the area and systems. The MPO staff visited all parts of the county, recording who was using the network, during what time of the day, and what activities. The staff also did the process of the system were working and where there appeared to be challenges, not discerning through, I hear echo, but anyways, I keep going. With that being said, the MPO experience is a reminder that field visits are still essential to effective planning. The second noteworthy practice was related to the MPO award, Bob the Builder, for the observe, document, evaluate, specialized outreach based on local behavioral presentation. The 2020 Gulf Coast Safe Streets Summit presented this award to the Pasco County MPO after evaluating it against 22 other entries. This presentation was developed as part also of the Vision Zero plan for the county. The third noteworthy practice is related to the National Association of Development of Organizations, NATO, awarded the 2020 Excellence in Regional Transportation to the Resilient Tampa Bay Transportation Study. The award exemplifies TMA leadership and commitment to continue to strive for excellence for the Tampa Bay TMA. The next corrective, the MPO, I'm pleased that they are also working to get these updated, and then also to hear Carl report out on that today, as well as with FDOT. So the first one is actually on the MPOs must update its staff service agreement to be consistent with the MPO's bylaws. And so the MPO did ask for an extension for this one so that they can present the information to you that Carl has already shared that he did with you all. So this one is, we're looking for a date for October the 29th for this one. The Unified Planning Work Program Corrective Action, the MPO had already taken steps to address this corrective action as well. The development of this plan must be completed by July 30th, 2021. The MPO also needs to provide the federal partners status updates quarterly until the plan milestones have been fully achieved. Again, I commend the MPO for already addressing some of these items, and we're looking forward to those quarterly reports. There were 3 recommendations that the federal review team thought that could help the MPO. And this also has to do with the organizational structure. I'm pleased that they do have Carl there and things are working well. And so hopefully they'll be able to have some, sufficiently staffed leadership positions to ensure the strategic objectives of the organizations can be achieved and that sufficient oversight is in place so that the federal requirements are met. The second recommendation is related to the security. The MPO are recommended to develop a standalone COOP operation plan and also perform a COOP exercise. And then the last outreach public participation recommendation is that since the MPO is undergoing or have done their updated to their public participation plan to address some of the regulatory requirements. Some of these were Title VI and non-discrimination plan as far as who's leading that part. Other had to do with their social media and other virtual platforms, title and contact information of who the new MPO person will be, updating their organization chart, their LAP Spanish speakers, and also their community characteristics inventory. Thank you, I appreciate that. I know I probably said a lot. Is there anything else that you might need from me based on our findings from the certification for Pasco County?
Questions? I think we're all good. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa.
All right.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Let's go ahead because Mr. Moore needs to move
Yeah, I
on,
didn't
but
know-
let's
I
go to
didn't know-
FDOT.
yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
looking for, yeah.
that's number 15. Let's go to their report.
Okay, good morning. So first, maybe I'll address the DAB projects and give you an update on that. So I think as everybody already knows by now, we had 7 projects in our district, 3 of them in Pasco County that DAB contractors either were defaulted on, which was the DDI, or self-defaulted, which included State Road 52 and State Road 54. They also did, I understand, on some Pasco County projects and some of our projects up in Citrus County. So after that occurred, we met with the surety company, who is more or less the bondholder, that's there and provide any contractor, when they win a project, they provide a bond, and if they don't perform, we go and ask the surety to step in. I can tell you the surety has been very responsive so far. Today, actually, they're supposed to receive bids on the DDI from contractors. Hopefully, those bids will lead to a pretty rapid change into a contract and get the contractor out there and try to get this project not only going, but accelerating it as quickly as possible. We're also working with our maintenance contractors to ensure that the project sites are secured. I've noticed recently that some of the vegetation in some of the areas is starting to grow pretty high, and so we're out there with our forces mowing them. In fact, we're doing 54, I think, today. The surety has let me know that the direction that they've given their people is that they need to get these contracts going as soon as possible, because they're also held to the same penalties that DAB would have been held to for being late. In other words, the end date of the contract doesn't change. They'll get penalized for every day they don't meet based on that original contract. So I'm very optimistic that very soon we'll have contractors on board working on those projects. The good news is that when you look at some of the other construction projects we have around in Pasco County and around the district, a lot of the contractors are ahead of schedule. The State Road 52 realignment project is almost a year ahead of schedule with Superior construction. The overpass road interchange is ahead of construction. So I think there's capacity out there to get out there good contractors and get these jobs moving forward. So I plan to give a weekly update, an email. I'll copy you all on that update to tell you what's going on with each project, and also include the questions we're getting asked that you're probably getting asked as well. You could send that to your constituents, and also with our contact information if they want to contact us directly. So that's what I can tell you on the DAB. On the paving system, so I had actually, after this was previously brought up, got with our state materials office, Tim Rolke, who's our state materials office in Gainesville. We centralize our materials, folks, because we do it standardized throughout the state. They had provided me a white paper from a few years back. At the time, the biggest, downside to it was that there weren't that many contractors that had the equipment. The equipment can be quite expensive, so a contractor that doesn't have it either may not bid the job if it's specified that it has to be, so you may limit the number of bidders, or because the material cost is right. The material cost is not different. The cost is the investment in the equipment. And so if there are enough contractors that have the equipment and you can get competitive bids, then that probably negates that part of it. We are, from what I understand, doing a pilot project right now. The state is to look at it, similar to what you heard, I think, with some other pilot projects, to see how it works. Over the last probably 10 to 12 years, there have been a lot of advancements in the asphalt paving industry overall. So this is one of them. There have been other things. There's now some trackless tack that's out there, from what I understand. And so we oftentimes try not to specify to contractors exactly what equipment to use. The means and methods we leave to them, and we provide them with the performance expectations. But certainly any kind of new technology that may help, we're going to look at. So I think our state materials officer will probably do this pilot project and then give us further guidance.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Ms.
You know,
Mariano?
like you said, we don't want to tell them what to do, but as far as methods go, if we said we want a end result of a tackless system that's not driven over by trucks, it's not really being specific what equipment they use, but it says, I want a clean base so that when asphalt's down, it's solid. I mean, I mean, like I said, I'm really excited about this. I'm so excited that I think that if I had to recommend to the county, we had to take a close look at, if we even had to buy a few machines of our own and somehow contract with companies to go use it, we could do that. But I think that this technology is so superior that why would I not want to have the best product out there to go? I mean, literally, when I drive down 19, like, the unraveling that happened years ago is little pots are happening. And it's so hard to get a crew out there for one little section.
Yeah.
And when they're like, every like quarter of a mile, it's over and over. When I go down,
Yeah.
even Pinellas County, I just happened to go down to Pinellas Park for the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council meeting, and the gaps that are going down there, and sometimes they were right where the trucks would drive in and drive out around those things. So when I look at technology, yeah, I may not tell them they have to buy this machine or use this machine, but here's what I want for an end result for my product to go.
Right. And I think that's what they're looking at now, is they're saying, can you specify the end result without saying you have to use this type of equipment? Because if I'm a contractor A and I've got an investment in a different system, I may say, I can do just as well. They could say, I can do just as well with my equipment, but if you make me use that equipment, I either got to go invest the money in it, or I have to say I'm not going to bid on that job. And what our folks are doing is now doing the testing to see, is there that big difference or not? Compared to the other differences that they get approached by people with all kinds of different systems and materials. And so, and it's not proprietary, which is good because we can't
Right, I agree.
do proprietary. But if you end up where the equipment is an impediment to a bid, you may end up, if only one contractor in your area has that equipment, you may get a bid based on, well, I'm only competing with one myself. So,
Now, I heard this technology's actually been out there for like either 10 or 20 years.
yes, I think it has been, yeah.
So is that some of the roads you're gonna go take a look at to see how they're holding up compared to what's right next door?
They probably will. I'm not sure that it was used that much on DOT roads in the past.
I'm sure.
So I think they have to look at it, but I'm not opposed to it if it shows good results. But what I would do is defer to my state materials office, because they're gonna look at it from a statewide basis and tell us, what they would require. Typically, though, I can tell you, they try to stay away from telling the contractor how to do something as opposed to telling them what they expect.
Yeah.
But if you can find something that extends the life of the road, we're gonna look at it for sure.
Yeah, and I think just going with what we want to have a tax system that goes down, that's gonna be treated in the seams, it's gonna be
Right.
not driven by any other apparatuses, and it's gonna go down before the asphalt goes on.
And that's what they may put in the specifications, is to say, we'd like this, but not say how you have to do it. Right.
All right, so Carl, maybe you can even bring something back to us, because we can do it, and kind of give us, here's what we could do, and kind of work. And if you want to work with DOT to make sure that does back up everything we're trying to do, I think bring an agenda item back up when you've done more research on it. But to me, it seems like a no-brainer to go do it.
I know they did the work when they paved, did 56 out there, they did that laser for the smooth ride and all that, and I think we got a great road out of that. I don't know if that process with that pavement was that, but that road's a fine road that we got down here in Pasco County. So I'd like to also say, appreciate everything DOT's done, and Secretary Gwynn and all your staff. We certainly appreciate all the work y'all done in our county. Our infrastructure, when you look at the road network, when you lay that down over our county, it's pretty amazing what's been going on in the last 5 or 6 years. And it's, hopefully, I've heard we're not gonna get Suncoast to go to Georgia, so we're going to have to get some other road to go through so we can separate this traffic. Traffic keeps growing on our interstates, and when you travel on weekends or whenever out of the state and come back into our area and all, we need something to divide it up to where the roadway will handle all the traffic. So I know we've been adding lanes, but it's quite a chore to get everything worked out just right.
So we'll be working on that. As you know, the MCOR was kind of modified, if you would. It wasn't entirely killed, but it was modified. And they are going to look to try to find some way to do a limited access facility of some type, maybe up the 19 corridor, Suncoast, bring it up to red level and maybe go north. But that's still in the works. And I would say we also appreciate, one of the reasons that Pasco County's gotten a lot of work is you've partnered with us and you've come to the table with not just a request, but oftentimes with assistance and putting some money on the table and skin in the game. And it's much easier to go to Tallahassee and sell a project when we're partnering,
Right.
because there's only a limited amount of money to go around.
Yeah, well, I certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And Secretary Gwynn, I'd like to thank you for, all the work you've done since you've been in. I mean, you have just been such a catalyst for getting stuff done so positively every step of the way. Your team is just like, just phenomenal. Recently, well, let's say last year, we had the storm events up in by Jasmine Lakes, et cetera. And in that area, you brought Josh Ebner out with me, and we kind of looked around. The report we got back was phenomenal, and I want to say that we just had staff back out there. It was one of the last storm events where it was shut off on both sides. The technology or the research you guys had done is going to allow us, our staffs, to work together now, and we think Branford says we'll get that thing done fast. So
great.
with what you did, it really laid the groundwork, and I appreciate that. Also want to let you know that we're, and I'll talk about this later on, but while you're here just for now, going to work closely with Hernando County coming up for County Line Road. As a small county, they can get better sources of fundings that are out there. As a small county, they're committed to go get it done. They want to have us to come to the table. So Chairman Alaco had reached out to me through others. Our engineers are now getting together. Carl's getting together. So we're going to need a joint meeting to try to all right, let's go put a plan together so we can make it a shovel-ready project. With all the transportation money that's been coming out, and as I said on the NACO Transportation Committee, I want to look for every single avenue we can. I'll go to DC with those guys to try to help them out to try to get the funding for that road. And I think if we design the road properly, or maybe we got to tweak it to make it fit to the specifications that's for the grants out there, I think we make it work together. So if you would, as we go forward, that's kind of where it's all coming from.
No, sure would be glad to work with you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Go to number 12.
Thank you. This is future studies, so I brought to you for the 52-year contract. My apologies, I was muted. I brought to you earlier the 52 and Adair Road contract. So this is just to update you and seek your feedback. We are looking at doing 3 other corridor or sub-area studies. US 19 corridor, we have a significant safety concern with that facility, but I don't want to look at that facility only at safety. I want to look at congestion, economic development. I want to use this study to make large-scale change. There are also a number of other studies that have previously been done, such as the harbors, and it seems that there are a number of efforts that are underway. We're going to look at all those, bring those together, and bring together all the partners. David Engel with the Economic Development Office is here, Florida DOT is here. We're going to engage all of these partners for that study. The same thing applies for the Pasco County Freight Transportation Plan. We are a county that has a number of great opportunities. I want to use that freight plan to not only improve freight access and mobility while preserving quality of life for our residents, I want to use it as an economic attractor tool to grow to develop in a manner that is careful, but increases our tax base.
The commissioner look like that one.
Yep.
That spur up in Lakuchi could be a phenomenal part of that study.
Oh, yeah. Yep. The, that Lakuchi area is, I mean, we started out, we'll bring infrastructure in for manufacturing or get jobs back in that community. It's been idle from Cumber and Sons plant in Lakuchi area for over 60 years. And now we've got actually one manufacturer already there, another one coming, and 2 or 3 more looking to come in that area. And it's made it a broader picture for us to look at. So now we got to look at it for housing for those workers that are going to work in that area. And then it'll just stretch out from there. A school that's only at 50% capacity, well now, when we get those homes and all built in there, that will grow and be much, much better for that whole community. That whole community will change from what it used to be. So, pretty great. A lot of good stuff happening with roads in that area. Roundabout up there, I continuously get people telling me how great that roundabout is that Secretary Gwynn, he actually made that happen very quickly. within a year. And I think because of it saved lives, and people that were against the roundabout, they'd come back and say, I'm sorry, I didn't know what I was talking about. That roundabout's great. So it's good to hear those things, and it's good that too many times before this, we'd always hear FDOT didn't move very fast, but I can tell you what, they do move fast around Pasco County.
Yes, they do.
And we appreciate everything they do.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Just one quick thought, too. As you're doing that US 19 corridor study as well, one of the things that the two cities had done probably a couple of years ago is they put golf carts available to go across. We get the Cody Reeve underpass to go through, but I will tell you, the Hudson area, they want to have golf carts all the way through there. And the DRI report we just had for SunWest at the last meeting actually said in there, they're worried about Old Dixie being at capacity by 2040. And one of the things we're looking at putting a trail from there. So I think whatever we do to keep people in golf carts off the roads of 19 and going up and down could save a lot of trips and create a lot more safety. So if we make it part of that, would be great.
And sorry for looking away, I write things down, so
I got
don't
you. I
forget.
see what you're doing.
There's an OCD side of me, if you can't tell by the suit.
Well, I'll just say that, Carl, your coming on board has been phenomenal. I think since Kevin Guthrie, there's been no one ever more qualified for a position.
Thank you.
Very good. Ready to move on to 13?
So if I may present the next item, Temporary Chairman Oakley. This is the National Association of Metropolitan Planning Organizations, or AMPO. This is our nationwide trade association, if you will. They hold an annual conference, except for last year, thanks to COVID, that is phenomenal. At this conference this year, on October 4th through 8th, we will learn the location and dates of the next conference, and I will block off my calendar in 2022 for this conference. It is that good. I come back from it completely enthused about the work we do. It is an avenue or an event where you can speak with other people who understand our lingo and what we're doing. I highly recommend it. As part of my onboarding with the county here, when I interviewed, I requested that funding be made available for the entire MPO team to attend this conference and one board member. It is a reimbursement, so you would pay for the travel and then be reimbursed afterwards. But we do have funding available for one board member. If any of you have attended the MPOAC Weekend Institute for Elected Officials and the energy it creates, you will find the same experience here. It is phenomenal. So I open it up to you.
Okay. Mr. Mariano?
Mr. Chairman, I've taken the MPOAC committee course twice, once when I first started and then once 14 years later do it again. I sit in the transportation committee with NACO, trying to work with DOT, et cetera, just exploring for ideas to get funding. I wouldn't mind going. I've never heard of this before. Your enthusiasm with this is like knowing the whole team's going to go. I think I would like to go if the board would like to send me. I'll work it. I can guarantee you that.
Yep. We're good with that. We don't have a quorum here right now, so, but we'll bring it up. When is this conference coming up?
Is October 4th through 8th. We would be looking to lock down travel reservations for you shortly. We weren't looking for this to be an action item, but rather to seek a volunteer. I frankly was concerned that I would have several people look at each other and go, I'm pleased to hear your enthusiasm. Thank you.
Can you send more than one?
One way too.
There we go. Never coming back.
So if you want to consider it, y'all work it out.
Okay.
That would be fine.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay. All right. Where are we at here? Did y'all have another presentation or?
We do have a presentation on the SIS, the Strategic Intermodal System, and Jensen Hackett will lead us through that.
All right, thank you, Carl. Good morning, Chair.
Welcome.
Good morning, board members. Jensen Hackett with the Department of Transportation. This is a quick presentation on the SIS policy plan update that we will be going forth over the next few months into 2022. The Strategic Intermodal System, the SIS, is Florida's high priority network of transportation facilities that are important to the state's economy and mobility. We are updating the SIS policy plan, which sets the policy direction for designating, planning, and implementing the SIS. During this presentation, we'll discuss the process for updating the policy plan, its various components, emerging trends and focus areas, and the initial thoughts for potential changes in the plan. This is only a kickoff presentation, and we will be coming back through the process and the development of the policy plan update. So if you do have any questions or comments in your packets, we do have a central office representative that is there that will be updating the policy plan, as well as our District 7 coordinator, Lori Marable. So all the contact information is in there if you have any questions or comments from this presentation.
The Florida Department of Transportation is grateful for this opportunity to present this update to the FDOT's Strategic Intermodal System Plan. Our goal today is to inform you about the purpose of this plan, why it matters, highlight the plan elements and emphasis areas, and discuss the proposed focus areas to get your input. The SIS is a statewide network of high-priority transportation facilities, including Florida's largest and most significant airports, spaceports, public seaports, freight rail terminals, passenger rail and intercity bus terminals, rail corridors, waterways, and highways. These facilities represent the primary means for moving people and freight between Florida's regions, as well as between Florida and other states and nations. Florida established the SIS in 2003 for many reasons, all of which are still relevant today. A primary reason was to help meet growing demand for moving people and freight as our population and economy continued to expand. The SIS was envisioned to support Florida's economic competitiveness by connecting our regions to markets within our nation and worldwide. Many industries require access to multiple modes of transportation, providing seamless flows of both people and goods. In addition, the SIS was intended to support the state's community planning goals by focusing transportation investments on existing transportation hubs and corridors, so we can maximize the use of the most current system. Finally, the SIS was intended to focus our essential state resources on those transportation facilities most critical to Florida's economy and quality of life. Florida statute requires the department to update the SIS policy plan at least once every 5 years, following the update to the Florida Transportation Plan, also known as the FTP. The SIS policy plan is developed by reviewing the most recent FTP goals and objectives to ensure the SIS policy plan is in line with the FTP. 2045 is the horizon year for the current FTP, and the SIS policy plan is an implementation action of the FTP. In addition, the process considers current trends and conditions, including applicable performance measures, to ensure the plan addresses key issues and opportunities for the SIS. The process requires collaboration and input gathered through various partner and public outreach efforts, such as partner briefings, social media outreach, virtual outreach, and surveys. The 35-member steering committee that guided the update of the FTP in 2020 is assisting with the update of the SIS policy plan this year. A public comment period will accompany the draft final plan in late 2021. Following the public comment period and final management approval, the final plan will be adopted. The SIS is made up of two basic components: SIS facilities, which meet high levels of people and goods movement, generally supporting major flows of interregional, interstate, and international trips, and strategic growth facilities, which are smaller in nature and generally are designated to support niche markets, underserved geographic areas, or other unique economic communities. The SIS includes 3 types of facilities: hubs, such as airports, seaports, and other types of terminals; corridors, such as highways, rail lines, and waterways; and connectors, which link the hubs and corridors or hubs to other hubs and military access facilities to corridors. The policy document generally addresses and includes the following topics. It defines objectives for how we plan and manage the SIS, consistent with the broader goals for the FTP. It outlines focus areas for the SIS that are to be addressed over the next 5 years as part of the plan update. It sets forth policies or strategies directed towards these objectives and focus areas. And lastly, it sets forth implementation guidance on how to carry the plan forward. The current 2016 SIS policy plan objectives still correlate to the current FTP goals related to mobility, transportation options, and economic competitiveness. They also continue to represent the long-standing framework of the SIS and its original intent. The 2022 SIS policy plan will focus on these 5 areas. Safety. How does the SIS, as a key element of the state's transportation system, contribute to our vision of eliminating fatalities and serious injuries on Florida's transportation system? Resilience. How can we reduce vulnerabilities of SIS infrastructure to risks including extreme weather, sea level rise, coastal and inland flooding, wildfires, and extreme heat? Technology and innovation. How do we prepare the SIS for emerging technologies, such as automated, connected, electric, and shared vehicles? Urban mobility and connectivity. How do we address the impact of congestion in both major and developing urban areas on the efficiency and reliability of the SIS for interregional travel, especially in areas where there are limited options for adding capacity to SIS corridors or limited modal alternatives to SIS highways? Rural mobility and connectivity. How can the SIS support rural revitalization and economic development and facilitate emergency evacuation and response while supporting environmental stewardship goals and community visions? For each focus area, we will present some high-level ideas for improvements. Building on the FTP and SHSP, the Strategic Highway Safety Plan, we have identified several potential safety-related policies for inclusion in the SIS policy plan. Here are some of the ideas based on input received so far. Increase the emphasis on safety as a factor in setting priorities for SIS projects. Provide more flexibility to include safety features as part of SIS capacity projects. Address engineering and operational solutions related to emphasis areas associated with higher fatality rates on the SIS. An example could be to add guardrails, rumble strips, or clear zones to address lane departures. We have identified several potential resilience-related policies for inclusion in the SIS policy plan. Here are some of the ideas based on input received so far. Consider vulnerabilities in the community and environmental screening process as part of SIS designation. For example, if there are 2 options for a connector and one is in a storm surge zone, designate the alternative. Identify resilience strategies as part of capacity needs in projects. For example, use ITS or sensors to detect hazards and share information. Expand SIS funding eligibility for adaptation or retrofit of existing infrastructure. An example would be elevation change, base layer hardening, or stormwater management to help maintain the SIS facility's safety and capacity. We also might consider expanding the definition of capacity to include increasing redundancy or providing alternatives to mitigate vulnerabilities on the system. We have identified several potential technology-related policies for inclusion in the SIS policy plan. Here are some ideas based on input we received so far. Redefine SIS capacity projects to include technology solutions for improving efficiency and reliability. In other words, define SIS projects not just as increasing the physical capacity of a corridor, but also improving efficiency and reliability. Expand SIS funding eligibility beyond what is in the current plan to provide technology infrastructure, such as electric vehicle charging stations, smart signals, locational reference markers for connected vehicles, broadband for transportation purposes, etc. Provide more flexibility for funding emerging mobility solutions, such as quick response initiatives that could be funded in the current year. We have identified several potential policies regarding urban mobility and connectivity for inclusion in the SAS policy plan. Here are some of the ideas based on input received so far. Redefine capacity projects to include mobility and reliability improvements, similar to the concept discussed under the technology section. Prioritize opportunities to improve interregional travel on the SAS. An example would be projects to create express or through lanes, create bypasses or other alternatives to bottlenecks, support truck parking or other freight accommodations, etc. This also could include providing more options for travel between Florida's largest urban areas, such as passenger rail or intrastate air service. Provide flexibility for use of SAS funds on non-SAS facilities when that is the best option to improve performance of the SAS. For example, if an SAS corridor is heavily congested and there are no viable options to add capacity to that corridor, could we use SAS funds to improve a parallel, arterial, or transit corridor if that improvement will pull local trips off the SAS and preserve capacity on the SAS for long-distance travel? We have identified several potential policies regarding rural mobility and connectivity for inclusion in the SAS policy plan. Here are some of the ideas based on input received so far. Reassess the SAS highway corridor criteria, particularly how we identify facilities capable of being improved to controlled access standards. This also could include how we consider context classification in the SIS designation/community and environmental screening process, where there is a choice. Focus SIS designation on the facilities in areas suitable for higher capacity corridors. Redefine capacity projects, in this case to include rural connectivity and through traffic improvements. This might include small projects, such as adding turning lanes or geometric improvements to improve SIS corridor safety. It also could mean expanding funding eligibility for broadband and other rural technology solutions that would improve connectivity. Strengthen rural corridor planning processes to identify programs of projects for both SIS and regional/local corridors. For example, think about how we improve a corridor like US 19, but also the connections from that corridor to rural activity centers. This could include stronger collaboration with local governments on how rural connectivity can support economic, community, and environmental goals. We value your input. Without it, the SAS cannot reflect the feedback from our partners and the public. What else do we need to do to improve these 5 focus areas? There is a public question form available if you would like to give us input. Please give your form to the FDOT representative, or you can email it or mail it to Lori Maribel, FDOT District 7 SIS Coordinator. Her information is at the bottom of the comment form. Following our targeted outreach efforts, we will draft recommendations for the plan based on input received. We will review the information with the FTP/SIS Implementation Committee and FDOT management. The draft plan will be available for public comment at the end of this year on the Systems Planning website. The final plan is anticipated to be adopted by early 2022. Thank you for allowing us to present the SIS Policy Plan Update.
Any questions? Mr. Mariano?
A couple of questions. Looking at SAS, I consider that County Line Road, for instance, it connects US 19, Suncoast Parkway 41. When I look at to the south of us, because the way Hillsborough grew out, they kept their rural, northern sections rural, and we have all these issues on 54 because everybody from Pinellas and Hillsborough want to use that road to go back and forth. It causes tremendous burden on us, which is why Ridge Road has been so important for us to get that built. But when I think about County Line Road for Hernando County, as well as us, that's an east-west collector that goes all the way to 41. Why wouldn't that be part of the SIS model?
I don't know if, yeah, Justin.
Or could it be if it was asked for?
Justin Hall, FDOT. I think that as we continue to talk about the facility, I mean, we can look at that. I mean, we can look at the eligibility and whether that could be added as this facility. The policy for adding facilities it's a little complicated, but I would say that the fact that it does connect with 40 or 19 and would connect out to the east, I mean, it would definitely be a facility we'd look at. I also think there's a lot of funding available for that road, so CIS may not even need to be a pot that we need to tap into. One of the conversations we have at Hernando County is, like you mentioned, they have SCOP matching funds and some other funds that are available to them. And I think there's going to be sufficient funding to look at that road, without having to tap into CIS. But we can definitely look at the eligibility as we move forward in that project.
No, yeah, if you have another way to fund it, I'm all good.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions? Very good report. Next, we'll hear from PCPT.
Good day, all. Kurt Scheibel, Director, Pasco County Public Transportation. I'll keep it short. If you didn't know, we're about to change our brand. You'll hear more about it on the 24th. But just to give you a heads up, that will be now Go Pasco really soon. So we're really excited about the changes. The branding looks really, really good on the side of the buses. Blackjack's been very good helping us with some of the different things and making it look right. So we're really excited about that. As you know, yesterday you guys, I should say the BCC, approved the 3 new buses we got. So they should be on the road relatively quickly. We just have to get the radios installed and the license plates put on them, and we'll be ready to go. One other thing is there's a lot of misinformation going around about our new paratransit system. A lot of people are saying it's taking 3 hours to pick people up and so forth like that. The data is just not supporting that. I'm just going to let you know we're right now, pickup time is 85%, but the drop-off time, which is what most people care about, I'm getting to the doctor on time, is 93%. Less than 0.5% since we started the thing have been over an hour. And a couple of those, unfortunately, were due to traffic. We look at everything over an hour to see what caused it so we can fix it. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that. Beyond that, we're looking to get new buses down the road because we're in the odd year, so we'll be ordering it so we can get them delivered for next year. One last thing is, if you did not know, and you probably already do, there's a big infrastructure plan that was passed by Congress that radically increased the amount of money available for transit systems. Expect me to have some, hopefully, a new building down the road because we got the east side and maybe a west side administrative facility or something along those lines to start showing up. Looking at things like electric vehicles, because that, what they call it, the low or no emissions grant or low-no grant, that was increased a lot. And so we're looking at opportunities for that, because I can see 19 being a perfect example of having our buses up and down. 1/3 of our people would be on that, and then who knows, we can put a solar field, solar panels above our parking area so that they can power it. So get us towards that green environment and reducing our emissions. So other than that, I'm here for some questions.
Okay, any questions?
No, I understand you're getting that trademark patented as well, right?
Yes, sir. We are. The RLS is at the county attorney's office.
All right.
Okay.
We are.
All right, thank
Thanks,
you.
sir.
Yes, sir. Any other business to bring up, Carl?
If I may indulge you with 2 very fast items. Excuse me. I want to say thank you to Florida DOT. Last week, I went to Chicago to go home for a week. I drove on the interstates up there. I'm very thankful for our Florida DOT. The vegetation, the roadway surface, we are very blessed with our DOT. The second thing I wanted to acknowledge is these meetings do not happen in a vacuum. They do not build themselves. These agenda materials do not magically fall out of the sky. I want to say thank you to the team who are with us today and some online, because without them, I can't do this. Thank you, that is all.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Any board member have anything to say? Anything to add?
We're good.
If not, we adjourn.
Thank you.